which I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And also, if you're actually engaging onto their Urgot as well, remember, you get to stand up there, you get the empowered Seraphine W, can empower your Disdain shield as well if you end up using that first, and then the ult coming through can very much block a lot of that combo out. I actually think this Urgot quick is actually quite good.
Sensible.
I like it quite a lot. It is, of course, going to have to be subject to whatever the heck is going to happen in terms of getting picked off, because there is so much CC. Things can get very, very difficult very, very quickly. And of course, that wind wall can block a lot of your impact too. But this is a pick we have a little bit of experience with, and just diving into that a little. Sips, I think, has agency this game.
He does indeed, and the thing is, it's such good setup for a jungler like Lily. At the moment you both hit level 6, your kill threat is so high. Absolutely brutal.
It is absurd. Of course, he's against Kerberos, and this is a matchup which, of course, I want to talk about a little bit.
Go for it.
Singularity as a whole, they have a lot of new names here. They might have been around Div 2 than different places across the ERLs, but this is a team which has been put together halfway through Summer Split to try and get this team out of relegations. Now, that is going to be very, very difficult for them to achieve. They need to leapfrog not one, but 2 teams to get out of that. Or at least, if they can't do that, give themselves a good showing. And they have to do that with not as much experience, not as much time on the Rift as so many of our other teams. Especially when you compare it to someone like Kerberos in this top side. And Den Voxney, of course, we've got him on screen too, one of those other decorated veterans of the NLC scene. But looking at Kerberos on his most played champion, which he has brought up so many times in the UK scene, even back to like LVP and the likes, it's a tough battle when you're looking at the amount of games played and seeing the amount of experience that brings to bear.
Absolutely, he is one of our better performing top laners, right up there alongside the likes of Cries and Chasey and Jax Plank with those DPM and CS numbers. So some pretty rarefied heights to be in. Of course, the 10-4 record as well right now. Both solo laners really for Dusty have been nothing short of impressive.
Now, Backlund, of course, on his famed Yasuo at this point. This has been something which Dusty have comboed up with so much. And this actually was the pick alongside course, the setup comps, which Dusty so loved to play, that got them their first win over a team above them in the standings. They beat Astralis Talon, and they finally started climbing that ladder. It took them a long time. They were kind of a bit of a gatekeeper for a while. And this is why, suddenly, jumping into this point where actually, you know, Aragon said, Dark Horse to win the split. We were saying, when Don Jake was on here too, actually, this is a team with an incredibly high skill ceiling. This match, if I wanted to distill it into one sentence, is the team finding their feet versus the team finding their ceiling. I think that Dusty are really coming in hot, and Singularity can have a tough time of it showing up against one of our real strongest teams in the NLC currently.
Of course, a fair amount of overlap in that room, a fair amount of space between the floor and the ceiling to see where these two teams intersect, to whichever end of that room they happen to be on in the standings.
It's going to be a
right
crawl
now.
Space or a cathedral.
Exactly that. And of course, Dusty, a bit more of a standard draft with, of course, the slight excitement of that Yasuo pick.
Album name. Crawl Spaces and Cathedrals.
That's a good album.
Yeah. I'll note that one down. Don't steal it.
But then the problem is it gets shortened down to C&C, and people think that you talk about Command and Conquer.
I'm going to go to the one place not corrupted by capitalism. Space!
That's a complete lie. Have you seen how many satellites are up there?
True, God. You know there's a giant debris field?
I do. Isn't there like a concept about when it's going to hit?
WALL-E, the movie WALL-E.
Isn't there supposed to be like a point beyond which the atmosphere becomes like too saturated with stuff as well as the thing?
I wish I knew that, but there probably is.
The WALL-E constant.
Saturated by champions is mid lane.
Indeed.
Rudy is walking in. But Backlund has many flashes in the form of minion dashes.
He does. He's
over
the wall, but will he be able to get any further? I just don't know. He's going back through the minion and levels up, not buy him some time, but the Ignite comes through and First Blood goes nowhere else but screwed. He's Lilia.
So, you know, I used to play with the Yasuo main quite a lot back in like Season 5, Season 6, and every time a minion wave came into lane, he would be like, I've got 6 flashes available now. And Backlund uses an awful lot of them. And he uses them through the champions too, and it's slick moves, it's fun, it's fancy. But Backlund dies on Yasuo, and he goes down, and what a shame that is. And for his own KDA on that champion, Scrooty picks up the kill.
And I have to call it out that, of course, that does mean that Georgia, otherwise known as Trouble Inc., was wrong. And Backlund died on Yasuo for First Blood, no less. You heard it here, chat. You heard it here, production. Clip it, ship it, and embarrass her with it later. With our love sent.
You see, they were talking about, Backlund, he's picked the lewdest murderer. Ari has finally shut up Nightmare. You see, this is the vengeance we use You think that?
He's
You
going to
think
come in
I
here
would
and take
let
us
that
off the
lie?
cast very swiftly.
Yeah, well, I mean,
We'll
Backlund is,
deserve it as well.
Backlund is now my favorite, no, legally my favorite player within the
Oh, I see. So that's the... So
Yeah,
if someone else picks Ludens, do you have to fight?
He actually had to put, like, he was typing in all chat just hashtag advertisement is what I paid him to do that. And I believe just for legal
Did you
reasons.
just...
That's absolutely not the case. I'm
Did
not
you just
doing
admit to bribing players to buy items?
Look, oh no, I'm bribing a player to build the correct build. Ooh, what a shame. Of course, if he builds a Magi's and Yasuo this game,
Then there's a problem.
We'll have a few issues with it. But of course, he is going to be looking towards.
Sweeping Blade has an AP ratio, I think.
I actually believe it does. Actually, so this is a really fun thing because this is something that was added to a lot of champions to build Triforce. There's a trifecta of Singularity champions is down on this bottom side.
Flash out of Sten puts him in a difficult position here. There's a watch out Eep and another fantastic route as the beat gets dropped. And then Vox, they may have a Crescendum and a Severin, but he will not be keeping his Nautilus alive. Singularity, 2 on the board. And they're both on Scroody. This man's Lilia is just a menace.
And, you know, we were talking about in pre-show as well. One of the big points was Scroody. This player is such a driving force for this new Singularity roster, coming in with the top damage percentage of any jungler, and it is not close. Of course, he's got less games, so that can get very, very much skewed, but it is also, with all those games, being on Lilia pretty much. And at Kha'Zix, this guy wants to do damage, and with 2 kills on the board, he is set up perfectly to do so again. Your Backlund is the player that's been really thriving for Dusty recently with those big damage numbers. It has been Scroody on the other side for Singularity, and even though they are at 1 and 13, this is a recipe, though short-lived, for success so far.
So 84% kill participation, 27% damage share from the jungler. Yes, he's been playing the champions to facilitate that, but Scroody has been nothing short of a revelation for this Singularity squad, and they have needed it because we've had a lot of criticisms about the way they've managed rosters, about how they've been playing in the league, but this current roster seems to be bringing it together, of course, with the likes of relegations looming, and yes, Singularity aren't locked in, but it's pretty damn close to it. Trying to get together to the point where they can be a cohesive and challenging unit for our Division 2 teams to have to face off should they wish to brave the gauntlet and make their way up to Division 1 is exactly what they need to be doing.
And that really is the question. That's the lens you got to put on it. Singularity are overwhelmingly likely to be in those relegations. It's a case of how good a case they can make for themselves to say, actually, we're not leaving this time. You're not kicking us out. We're going to go stick around in that Division 1. Of course, Div 2 rosters looking mighty strong themselves. We'll check in on that, of course, as we get through to that postseason as well, not just playoffs, but those promotion relegations to keep an eye on. Now, the way they've been making that case so far, in terms of how good this team potentially can be, is through comfort. And now, of course, Mirza playing a number of games on the Dissolution mid, pretty much the only player I've seen really going towards this pick anymore. But comboing up with an AP jungler, it has seriously helped them. If that was me, I would attempt to die.
You would have been quite tempted. The problem is Person would have been around with Flash and
by the way, and
exhaust,
this is
and you
why
would have died.
this is why I do not win on Yasuo ever, because I'm sat there like, funny ultimate. Of course, Sten was just around the corner, and Linkers was making their way in, but wasn't nearly close enough. But jungle support making their way towards mid lane, that's something which Dusty have done an awful lot for Backlund so far. Only really actually outclassed in that manner by Astral's talent. Astral's talent have been our mid lane demolitionists. They have been so good at destroying that lane, and that is a team which Dusty are facing off against for that second place spot, realistically. It's Dusty, it's Riddle, Astral's talent, and then of course X7 if they can get good enough results. Now, it is really Dusty who are trying to steal a march on that second place spot. I mean, with Riddle faltering a little bit, losing there a couple of the games, Dusty can see very much an opening put in. How much can they really capitalize upon it, though? Singularity 1 and 13, you'd like to think that they can't find this stumbling block, but of course Bifrost could.
There's a Flash and a Lunar Rush available for Linkers, which means Mirza needs to be a little afraid stepping up. He is now backing away, but how quickly can he make the distance? But he is far enough away. Top side, though, 2 plates gone down to Kerberos now, who is honestly playing that Gnar into Urgot matchup pretty well so far. And the gold is pretty damn close. In fact, it's even, but now Backlund's in a lot of danger. Flash over the wind wall, but the turnaround from the Raptor pit. Linkas gets Mirza.
You are never safe from the unseen Diana. Mirza flashes in, sees that the wind wall is down. I actually think that was a bit of a communication error between Singularity, because you can block the Lilia ultimate. That's something you can do. Hits them with the E, the Swirl Seed, but if this wind wall is used, maybe you think, oh, we can pull the Lear ultimate and that's going to seal the deal. Wind wall's used, but then the mark times off from the Lear. They can't follow through. Wouldn't have really mattered anyway. Dusty were waiting in the wings. Linkus just so deadly in that point, and now with an extra kill in tow, an extra flash away from Mirza, that mid-jungle is going to be so difficult to protect now from Singularity.
And we knew it was going to be explosive here the moment a Diana Yasuo was locked in, especially considering the players involved. Considering Scroody as well on this Lily has been nothing short of hyper-active on the champion. We knew this was likely going to be a point of pressure.
What is this farming nonsense?
Yeah, none of that. You farm champions. That's how you actually get gold in this game. And so far, we've had a fair number of attempts, some of which have been successful in the mid lane. We've got a dragon that spawned. Singularity looking to be
So this is second dragon first, was taken by Dusty. Singularity not content to let a second go over. When you are looking towards like early souls, of course you're looking to try and take those 2 early dragons, which are the ones most likely to be uncontested. Devoxne has a couple of components, has an ultimate, and Sten has a flash and a way to engage.
Gravitum Infernum, 2 of the more deadly Moonlight Vigil combos, but Person goes in, gets down the curse of the Sad Mummy, allows to follow up on the Encore, and now Singularity trying to extricate themselves, but then Voxne is running them over as Mirza is running away from back on the other side of the map. It is a split fight. Linkas now trying to charge it as Mirza ignited and deleted by Backland, and a little bit of help from Stend earlier on in the trade.
Oh, Singularity. They had a decent early game versus that Bifrost roster, which fell to them. That was their one win. That was their early game victory. But this time, they don't have a good don't have a good entrance to that dragon fight. They're split on multiple fronts, and they lose the dragon. They lose a kill, and Dusty with extra kills now onto that Yasuo, the first of the game. They are looking like they're once again in a very comfortable position. They play from this position a lot. And now they're looking to continue that win streak. Getting gold onto that Yasuo in the way that they have done before is a mighty fine front foot placed forward.
And again, we saw this happen to them against Bifrost, where they had some good early plays and then seriously fell away. Bifrost felt like they had that game in hand after some of those mid-game plays went round. But then Dusty are a different breed when they can pull off plays like that. The Seraphine is swiftly taken off a record label, deleted by the tower dive. And now Sips is in here, looking to land the Fear Beyond Death. Can he get someone low enough to execute them is the question you must ask. Not fired out the ultimate yet. No one quite low enough, but look at the top end of this. Mirza is here. He has a culling and a dream.
He has a culling and a dream, but no flash, remember. Any sort of CC on him, and this gets turned around. Sips fired the ult out earlier, but Stend timed it out with the stopwatch. Mirza's still going.
Death rides in with a pale cascade, and it's still not enough. Linkas falls down, and Sips hops forward with a disdain, and Singularity make it a 1-for-1 in the extended trade.
And this is something we're starting to see a little bit more from Singularity over the last couple of games. They're willing to brawl early, and if they give themselves champions with power spikes early enough, they are using them well. This time, of course, it is again just on the back of a losing trade. They are firing back, though, and that's good news for them. For a team which has, of course, had 13 losses, you've got to start picking out what you can as the good moments. But this time it's Dusty using that empowered Yasuo to find something. Of course, the Urgot ult fired out just at that moment. Sten taking the hook in, making sure he can time that one out, but the play doesn't end here. Credit to Singularity for knowing that they can actually take this play out. Mirza, you got some cojones, buddy. Look at that sidestep. You get hit by that hook. Can only imagine that goes poorly for that Lucian, but gets a kill back after a difficult early game, partly of his own creation.
Backland now might be about to face check a Lilia, though. Needs to be a little afraid. The Lilting Lullaby not popped quite yet. Now Sips is here looking for an execute threshold, but the rest of Dusty looking to defend their mid lane. It's a 4v2. Scroody behind the Urgot gets knocked up, though, and that means Backland gets entry. And Nightbringer Yasuo says goodnight to Lilia. Sweet dreams and a nightmare to boot.
Oh, sweet dreams are certainly not made of this, Scroody. Even in their victory, I'm going to have to keep referencing it as one of their bright moments. Even in that victory, he was caught out a fair bit, and Dusty have plenty of pick potential. While all this is happening, you've called away the Urgot from the side lane. Kerberos is pushed down a tie. He's probably going to die in return, but that's a good flash.
Second
Take it
bandage
back.
toss.
Looks like he's safe.
Sips just gets jumped on with a moonfall across the wall. Will Disdain and Linkas now maybe gets a Lunar Rush. Doesn't even need to get it over the wall. Linkas gets that one, and Dusty picking Singularity apart here. Now up 4,000 gold or so.
Oh, Dusty. They are looking to cement themselves in that race for that second place. Riddle won earlier. They're looking to keep pace with them. And getting gold onto this Yasuo Diana is a heck of a way to do it. They are the explosive first members into the fight in so many different scenarios. Linkus taking enemy jungle camps for himself, getting ahead of the curve, just finds the targets. At this point, Sis, buddy, you just can't be walking through here. You're not at the HP able to tank up a Diana, who at this point in the game is such a powerhouse. Even gone for Nash, it's going to be the Nashes into the Sunfire Cape for that Diana.
Oh,
much
yes,
more tanky,
true.
lots of sustained damage, and it is so painful to fight in melee range. Someone like that Urgot, who's behind the curve against a 4-kill Diana, who is at the same level as you, that is not a winning fight, my friend.
It is a fairly standard Urgot build, such as they are. The Titanic Hydra first is the look in here. Not completed yet, though, and is still down a significant amount in the lane matchup. Kerberos got, I believe, 4 out of the 5 plates towards the top side. Then Voxnay did have to flash there. The culling does go wide. Of course, it was blind. Second Herald taken down to about 1500 HP, and I don't think Singularity will be in range to contest, but now Stend in a slightly tricky position, but with the blast cone available, may look to turn this anyway.
Okay, what's going to happen here? Is Stend going to go for this anyway? Who's picking up the eye?
Gets the knocker, but it's not quite ready for the last breath, and that means Stend falls. Oh! In they go for the 4-man moonfall! And then, of course, Backlund takes their breaths away. TK bow Dusty. Trade your support for a play like that.
Someone call up NASA, get them to train that telescope on the moon. It's fallen on Singularity. It's 4 kills, 4-man combo. What the hell, Dusty? That was disgusting.
We asked for the ceiling. It's looking like it's out of the atmosphere and straight into a lunar orbit. They'll get us charge on the Herald as well, and Dusty are putting this game to bed.
Oh, call that one the James Webb combo. Pretty much everything going right for Dusty
What
at
4K,
that
baby.
point. This is such a beautiful play. Dusty again, finding their way onto comfort picks of their own. This has been their combo of choice. Then just goes, YOLO, let's go for it. Seen that a couple of times today. It's only game 2, remember, but
so good.
We are making sure we're amping up the entertainment. Singularity cannot hold their own. The damage is done. When you have so much gold onto the Yasuo Diana, this is what happens when they start getting rolling. You get caught, you get done.
The atmosphere, the gravity of that moonfall is dragging Singularity under in this game so far. It was a fairly competitive early game, but now Dusty with 3 dragons, with the gold lead, and with a combo like this, you can't help but feel Dusty are on a march towards a top 2 place contest, if not finish.
So, I know many of you will be joining the Metallica hype train from Stranger Things. I'd like you to introduce you to Slayer's Rain in Blood, as the Immortal Shield Bow has now come through from Yasuo after that. So much damage. Actually, it might have even been there from that one. I just wanted to use that pun. Either way, doing plenty of slaying between the mid and jungle from Linkus and Backlund. This engine for Dusty has been running so cleanly over their win streak. And Singularity really haven't had much to say about it. Failed to really stop this combo popping off, and now they have to find a way to problem solve the way around that, but it is not going to be easy to do so.
If I may offer a musical suggestion as well. Tori Amos does a wonderful cover of Rain of Bloods.
Really?
It's on piano, it's wonderful. She also does a really good cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Oh, I did know about that one.
Lady Gaga really rates that version of Rain of Blood, as to Slayer themselves. It's really cool, from back in the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, Gosh, some music stuff, actually. Yeah. You know what? That's going to be a long rabbit hole.
That is a very deep one for us.
That's a big one. Like, how do I go through like half a lifetime of musical travel from myself, musical journey, but Dusty content to travel around this map and go on their own little journey. Sips finally able to get towards a side lane. Singularity haven't even managed to get themselves a single tower up until this point down. 6,000 gold going to be cut a little bit from that, but it really has felt that Singularity went for a couple of early skirmishes, much like their previous iterations of their roster. Sometimes they'd find something in the early skirmishes, but Dusty are just across the board so much stronger than them, and their players today have really turned up with hands and keyboards ready to outplay.
Does feel that way, and honestly, something that's alarmed me a little bit is I don't think I've seen Sips use a Fear Beyond Death yet. You've picked this Urgot.
He did use that one on bot lane. It was just timed.
It was just timed out.
It was just timed out on the Nautilus with the Zhonya's, with the stopwatch.
It was. Okay.
But if you're reaching that far, you know what? Your point's very valid still.
Yeah, I honestly didn't see it launched. I wasn't sure if it had been used at all, and that says a lot, really. And you've kind of set up for this potential kill combo that's not really come through, and now Dusty have certainly found a few lethal combinations of their own. Now Linkcast does get in and gets that invade onto the Raptors, and we're left with a game that is firmly in Dusty's control, firmly in their hands. And firmly looking like a Singularity defeat here, despite a pretty exciting showing against Bifrost. However, slightly messy it was.
Yeah, Scrooty looking to try and hoover up some farms somehow, somewhere, and Scrooty once again calling them out as to the positive. Scrooty was on the charge, finding some strong fights for Singularity at the very start of the game, but he hasn't been able to translate that into team fights. The team hasn't been able to translate into team fights. They're not even going to start one around the Baron. They're too far away. They don't have information. And trying to face check into this comp is absolutely disgusting. Dusty, take that objective, and that should allow them to gain control of the entire map. And they've already got control of most of it. It won't be that much effort, and hopefully break that base. Threaten a dive to end the game.
Half wondered there where the person might look to try and catch a straggler on the recall, but can't find the angle and was spotted out by Linkas anyway. He's Dusty with 2.5 minutes of Baron to play with, and a Soul coming up in just a minute and a half as well, so that will translate very nicely into that. And Singularity very much at death's door in this game.
Yeah, and ushering them in very quickly through it is, of course, again, got to talk about this mid-jungle duo. Backlund, what a sensation he has been in this split. Dusty, this should be just one more step on their road towards the top of that table. JDXL, of course, sat above them, number of wins above them at that point. But second place, that first round bye, could very much be there for them. Kerberos, though, on his journey, on his way there, is going to get caught up by 3 people on the side.
Boy, that's a lot of people there. I don't think he's got anywhere to go. Does get an ultimate off, but the Fabian lands. He's dragged into the meat grinder, and that'll be Gnar. Biscuits for breakfast. Linkas hit up by the Encore, goes gold, but now turns it around. Another catastrophic moonfall makes it look like an otherwise fantastic fight for Dusty. They'll get one back again, so it's a 2 for 2 right now. But Vden Voxney has got damage, and Mirza and crew must run. They don't have the health bars remaining.
And they find a pick before the fight comes out. They get rid of the Gnar, and it's just enough to get them an even fight in a 5v4 after that point. The weight of the gold seriously weighing in Dusty's favor. They're going to take down towers. They haven't actually managed to break the base. That's the consolation for Singularity. They've got their inhib tower standing. They got all their inhibs in good nick. But Dusty, they were trying to play the 1-4, but their split push, it gets picked off, even though Gnar is winning in the individual level, 2 levels up on the Urgot. When you send this many people to them, it is not a winning scenario.
They get the shutdown, that's great news. Honestly, after that Encore landed, I thought there might be an opportunity, but then there's the knock-up, and then that moonfall, that's 2 in a row.
And we're going stargazing today. Look to the skies, you'll find yourself a Yasuo and a Diana suspended up there with the entire Singularity screen. Trust me, just look out your window. I do that occasionally. Dusty. For the outside of Singularity's windows, bit of a grey day for them, of course. Really, again, this was meant to be, just to reiterate, a game which will be good for their momentum, good for their own spirits. And they have, again, found out some of their own okay skirmishes in the early game. It's just getting it beyond that point. There's early brawls, looking okay at points, but it's never really transformed beyond that.
Second item is now mostly complete for Singularity. Prowler's Claw second, an interesting choice here from Sips, but you're looking at the side and it's closing in on 3 items for Dusty, and those aren't cheap item builds either.
No, well, Sips would love to use that Prowler's Claw to get away from the... Not able to do that, of course, and with everything happening in the bot side, Singularity maybe finding an angle top.
Wind wall popped, but nothing else.
Reminder that Linkas didn't use that flash for the last combo, so he actually has that to set up another multi-man knockup, which Singularity have to be so scared about. At least to Singularity, they don't have to worry about the Baron being up for a little longer. Linkas is on the flank.
Linkas over the wall, does go in, but the Encore comes through, and Sten looking to fall down. The Kaiser's hammer against one. Linkas about to be put to sleep. The lulting lullaby comes in, and that means they can't get the ult off, but they can still get a last breath anyway. Get Backlund, but what about the rest? Because Den Voxley is turned up, and he has the ultimate in janitorial weapons, red-white, and it's good night to the rest of Singularity.
And Voxley, welcome to the table. He's been doing some decent team fight damage, but took a backseat to Backlund. Backlund goes down, and that one does his own Beyblading to set up his ultimate for the first time in this game, and it will be enough to see Dusty level with Riddle, keeping things tied up at second place.
It was a valiant effort from Singularity, a valiant early game, but Dusty in the mid game Linkus and Backland in the mid game bring down the moon, and it is a crushing victory from in the end. They'll tie it with Riddle, and the race for second place is